As a police officer, I never expected a tiny wolf pup to beg for my help. When I followed her, what I found stunned everyone. The sun blazed down on Highway 99, scorching the California asphalt until it shimmered like a desert mirage. I'm Officer Emily Carter, and from inside my air-conditioned cruiser, I watched the heat twist and dance across the windshield. Beside me, Bailey, my golden retriever partner, panted softly, his warm fur brushing my arm, a steady comfort during these endless patrol shifts. The dashboard clock glowed 2:17 p.m., and the July air outside was thick, pressing against the glass like a living thing. I adjusted my sunglasses, squinting at the horizon where the road blurred into a hazy line. The radio crackled with the usual chatter. Traffic updates, a fender bender 10 miles south, nothing urgent. I leaned back, sipping from my water bottle, the cool liquid a brief relief against the dryness in my throat. Bailey shifted, his ears twitching as he stared out the window, always alert even in the quiet moments. We'd been a team for 6 years, his instincts as sharp as mine, maybe sharper. The hum of the engine and the faint whine of the AC filled the space between us, a familiar rhythm to our days on this stretch of blacktop. Then came the honking, a sudden angry cascade that jolted me upright. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a snarl of cars piling up behind me, drivers leaning out their windows, gesturing wildly. My pulse quickened. Something was wrong. I scanned the road ahead, and that's when I saw it. A tiny shape wobbling across the pavement, no bigger than a house cat, its movements unsteady against the searing heat. "Stay, Bailey," I said, my voice firm but soft, though his ears flicked up, curiosity sparking in his brown eyes. I set my water down, grabbed my hat, and pushed the door open. The heat slammed into me like a fist, thick and suffocating as I stepped onto the shoulder. My boots crunched against loose gravel, the sound sharp in the still air. Sweat beaded on my forehead almost instantly, trickling beneath my collar as I moved closer to the figure. It came into focus. A wolf pup, its gray fur dusty and tangled, legs trembling with exhaustion. The sight stopped me cold. In 15 years of highway patrol, I'd pulled over speeding trucks, wrangled loose livestock, even chased down a runaway emu once. But a wolf pup? Out here, alone on a sun-baked road? That was new. My heart thudded in my chest, a mix of surprise and something softer. Worry, maybe. The pup's amber eyes locked onto mine, bright and piercing, cutting through the haze. There was an intelligence there, a clarity that made my breath catch. I froze, one hand hovering near my radio, the other shielding my eyes from the glare. That's when I noticed it. A small device strapped to its leg, glinting in the sunlight, a tiny green light blinking steadily. Not a collar, not a tag, but something deliberate, something man-made. I swallowed hard, my mind racing. Wolves didn't wander this far south, not onto highways, and they sure didn't come equipped with tech. I reached for my radio, keeping my eyes on the pup. "Dispatch, this is Officer Carter. Traffic's blocked on 99 near mile marker 147. I've got a wolf pup here with some kind of tracking device, requesting backup and animal control." My voice stayed steady, but inside, questions churned. Who put that on her? Why was she here? The pup didn't bolt when I took a step closer, which set off more alarms in my head. Wild animals, especially wolves, shouldn't trust humans this easily. Her ears twitched, but she stood her ground, watching me with that same unflinching gaze. Up close, I could see the dust caked into her fur, the way her ribs pressed faintly against her sides. She was tired, hungry maybe, yet there was a purpose in how she held herself, like she wasn't lost at all, like she'd meant to find me. I couldn't wait any longer. I turned back to the cruiser and waved Bailey out. "Come on, boy." He slid from the seat with that easy grace of his, paws hitting the ground soft and sure. The honking had dulled to a frustrated murmur as drivers craned their necks to see what was holding them up. Bailey ignored the chaos, his focus locking onto the pup as he patted over. She didn't flinch at his approach either, just tilted her head, her tail giving a faint twitch. No fear, just curiosity. "Easy, girl," I murmured, crouching down a few feet away. The heat radiated up from the asphalt, burning through the knees of my uniform, but I barely noticed. The device on her leg caught the light again, and I leaned closer. It wasn't just a tracker, it was sophisticated, with a sleek casing, a serial number etched into the metal, and that blinking beacon. My fingers brushed its edge, cautious, like it might tell me her story if I touched it right. Emergency signal, I thought. Someone's looking for her, or she's looking for someone. Bailey edged in, his nose twitching as he took in her scent. The pup let him, her tail wagging just enough to stir the dust. I sat back on my heels, watching them, my mind spinning. This wasn't some stray wandering into traffic. She felt too deliberate, too focused. In all my years on the force, I'd learned to trust my gut, and right now, it was screaming that this was bigger than it looked. That device, her calmness, the way she'd crossed a scorching highway, it wasn't chance. She was on a mission. I pulled out my phone, snapped quick photos of the device, and sent them to dispatch. "Got images incoming," I added over the radio. "Let me know what this thing is." The pup shifted, her eyes flicking between me and Bailey, and I swear she seemed impatient, like she was waiting for me to catch up. I'd already started calling her Luna in my head. Those eyes reminded me of moonlight, steady and clear. The radio buzzed back within minutes, and the voice on the other end tightened my chest. "Officer Carter, that beacon's registered to Rachel Evans, a wildlife rescuer reported missing 2 weeks ago in the Sierra foothills. Last known location was Evergreen Forest." A chill ran down my spine, sharp against the heat. 2 weeks, missing. And this pup, Luna, had her beacon. My mouth went dry as the pieces clicked together. She wasn't just lost, she was a messenger. Luna tugged at my sleeve then, her tiny teeth gentle but insistent, pulling me toward the tree line across the highway. Her eyes pleaded, urgent and bright, like she was saying, "Come on, hurry." I should have waited for backup. Protocol drilled that into me, but something in her gaze overrode it. Bailey watched her too, his usual playfulness gone, replaced by a stillness I rarely saw. He felt it too. This was different. I made the call. "Dispatch, this is Carter. The pup's leading us somewhere. Bailey and I are going to follow. Send backup to track my location." My voice was calm, but my heart hammered as I stood. I guided the stalled traffic to the shoulder, waving drivers past with quick, sharp motions until the road was clear enough. Horns faded to grumbles, and I turned back to Luna. She took a few steps toward the pines, then paused, looking at me expectantly. "Let's go," I said to Bailey, and he fell into step beside me, his ears up, tail still. We crossed the highway, the asphalt burning through my boots, and followed Luna into the shadowed edge of Evergreen Forest. The air shifted as we entered, cooler, heavier, scented with pine and damp earth. The sun slanted through the canopy, casting dappled light across the ground, and Luna moved ahead with purpose, her small paws pressing delicate prints into the soft soil. Every few yards she'd glance back, those amber eyes checking we were still with her. Bailey stayed close, his training keeping him focused despite the forest's rich smells. Squirrels, moss, the faint tang of something wilder. My hand rested on my radio, thumb brushing the button as I tracked our progress in my head. Mile marker 147 fading behind us, the crunch of needles underfoot, the steady rhythm of our breaths. It all blended into a quiet intensity. The forest deepened, branches brushing my shoulders, roots snagging at my boots. Sweat slicked my back, the heat still clinging even here, but I barely felt it. Luna's focus pulled me forward, her tiny frame darting through the underbrush like she knew exactly where she was going. My mind churned with questions. How had she made it to the highway? What had happened to Rachel? 2 weeks was a long time in the wild. Too long, maybe. But Luna's determination gave me hope, sharp and fragile. After what my watch showed as an hour, her pace quickened, her soft whine slicing through the stillness. Bailey's ears shot up, and he let out a low, rumbling bark. My pulse spiked. Then I heard it, a faint voice carried on the wind, weak but real. Help. Please. My stomach clenched, breath catching in my throat. Rachel? I called, voice echoing off the trees. Luna bolted ahead, and we pushed after her, shoving through thick bushes, branches snapping against my arms. The ground dropped suddenly into a steep ravine, rocky and shadowed. There, at the bottom, lay Rachel Evans, pinned beneath a massive fallen oak. Her face was pale, streaked with dirt, her leg trapped under the trunk. Her eyes, dull with pain, flicked up to us, widening as Luna bounded down to her, licking her face and whimpering. Bailey stayed above, barking sharp and clear, marking our spot. I can't believe... She did it, Rachel whispered, her voice raw and breaking. I slid down the slope, careful but quick, rocks skittering under my boots. Bailey held his post, a golden sentinel against the green. We're here, I said, kneeling beside Rachel. We'll get you out. She nodded faintly, her hand trembling as Luna nuzzled it. I grabbed my radio, forcing calm into my voice despite the adrenaline flooding me. Officer Carter requesting medevac. Found Rachel Evans, injured. Coordinates. I read them off Bailey's collar GPS clipped there for moments like this. Rachel's breaths rasped, shallow and uneven, but she spoke through it. I was tracking wolves. The tree fell. Couldn't move. I strapped my beacon to Luna. A desperate chance. She's so smart. Her words trailed off, but her faith in Luna burned bright. That pup had crossed miles of wilderness, found me on a busy highway, and led us back through this tangle of trees. It was beyond instinct. It was understanding, loyalty, something I couldn't quite name. The distant thrum of helicopter blades grew louder, cutting through the forest's hush. Bailey's barks guided them, steady and sure, and soon the ravine buzzed with medics rappelling down. They moved fast, assessing Rachel, lifting the tree with careful precision. Luna stayed by her side, small but unwavering, her presence a quiet strength. When they secured Rachel to the stretcher, she reached out, fingers brushing Luna's fur. "My brave girl," she whispered, tears carving clean lines through the grime on her cheeks. The chopper rose, vanishing above the tree line with Rachel aboard. Luna sat beside me, her mission complete, her amber eyes calm now. Bailey patted down to join us, nudging her gently, and they touched noses, a moment of quiet connection. The forest stretched around us, vast and wild, the walk back to the highway looming ahead. But my heart felt light, lifted by what Luna had shown me. Trust and love didn't care about boundaries, not between human and animal, not between wild and tame. They just were, fierce and true. Weeks had slipped by since that blistering day on Highway 99, and the Sacramento Wildlife Center hummed with quiet energy as Bailey and I stepped through its glass doors. His nails clicked against the polished floor, a steady rhythm that matched the eager wag of his tail. He knew where we were headed. His nose twitched, picking up familiar scents, and his brown eyes sparkled with anticipation. I adjusted my uniform cap, the faint ache in my legs a reminder of our trek through evergreen forest, and followed the corridor's soft glow toward the rehabilitation wing. Rachel greeted us at the entrance, her smile bright despite the brace still hugging her leg. "Emily and Bailey, my favorite four-legged officer," she said, her voice warm and lively. She bent down, wincing slightly, to scratch behind Bailey's ears, and he leaned into her touch, his tail thumping the ground. Her dark hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and the lines of exhaustion I'd seen in the ravine were gone, replaced by a spark of purpose. "You have to see how Luna's doing," she added, straightening up with a nod toward the outdoor enclosures. We followed her through a maze of secured doors, the air growing fresher as we neared the outside. The center smelled of antiseptic and hay, a clean, earthy mix that clung to the walls. Rachel moved slower than I remembered, her limp a quiet testament to her ordeal, but her steps were sure. She swiped a keycard, and the final door swung open, revealing a sprawling fenced area bathed in late afternoon light. The moment we stepped out, I spotted Luna, her gray fur thicker now, her frame longer and stronger, but those amber eyes still sharp as ever. She bounded toward the chain-link fence, tail wagging like a metronome, and pressed her nose against the metal when she saw us. "She remembers you," Rachel said, her voice softening as she watched Luna's eager greeting. "I've worked with wolves for years, and most pups stay wary of humans. But Luna, she's different." I crouched down, the grass cool beneath my knees, and let Luna sniff my hand through the fence. Her breath was warm, her nose damp, and those eyes locked onto mine with a knowing glint. "Hey there, clever girl," I murmured, a smile tugging at my lips. Bailey plopped down beside me, his tail sweeping the dirt in wide arcs, and Luna tilted her head, bowing playfully as if inviting him to join her. Rachel leaned against the fence, her arms crossed. Her story hit the news hard. People couldn't get enough of it. The donations started pouring in right after. It's been a game changer. She gestured toward the enclosure, where a water dish glinted in the sun and a cluster of bushes rustled in the breeze. "Thanks to Luna, I've launched something I've dreamed about forever, the Nature Bridge program." Her eyes lit up, and she waved us toward a small office tucked beside the enclosure, its door propped open with a rock. Inside, the walls were plastered with blueprints and posters, sketches of habitats, timelines for construction, photos of wolves and kids holding binoculars. A desk sat in the corner, buried under papers and a steaming coffee mug. Rachel pointed to a map pinned above it, her finger tracing a red line that looped through the center's grounds. "The idea's simple but big," she said. "We're bridging the gap between humans and wildlife, showing folks that animals like Luna aren't just threats or mysteries. They're smart, they feel, they connect in ways we're only starting to understand." Her voice carried a quiet fire, the kind that comes from turning pain into something good. I nodded, glancing at the educational pamphlets stacked on a shelf, titles like Wolves, Friends, Not Foes, and Luna's Journey. Rachel's near-death experience had left scars, but it had also ignited this. "Would you like to see something amazing?" she asked suddenly, grabbing a set of keys from a hook. She led us back outside, her brace clicking faintly, and unlocked a gate to a smaller enclosed section of Luna's space. "We've been testing controlled interactions," she explained. "Luna's got this knack for reading situations, knowing who's safe, how to act. It's unreal." We stepped inside, the gate clanging shut behind us. Luna approached, her movements cautious but confident, ears flicking as she sized us up. Bailey sat beside me, his training kicking in, calm, steady, tail still. Then Luna did something that stole my breath. She nosed a rubber ball from the dirt and dropped it right at Bailey's feet. My jaw fell open, and Rachel laughed, a soft, awed sound. "She's been doing that with our therapy dogs," she said. "She gets it. Play as a bond. We've never seen a wolf pup act this way before." Bailey's ears perked, and he nudged the ball back with his snout. Luna pounced, her movements light and careful, and they started a gentle game of chase. I watched, my chest tightening, not just at the sight, but at what it meant. A wolf pup and a retriever, wild and tame, moving together like they'd known each other forever. Tears pricked my eyes, catching me off guard. Luna wasn't just surviving here. She was thriving, rewriting rules I didn't even know existed. Rachel sat on a nearby bench, patting the space beside her. "Her story's doing more than funding this place," she said as I joined her. "It's challenging how people see wildlife. National Geographic's doing a feature next month called Me last week. Universities, too, wanting to study her behavior." She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. "The media's been wild. TV spots, articles. Everyone's hooked on this little wolf who saved me." The sun dipped lower, painting the enclosure in gold, and Bailey flopped down beside Luna, both panting from their play. Rachel kept talking, her words spilling out like she'd been holding them in too long. "I'm planning workshops, kids learning about wolves, adults too. Rehab programs for injured animals using Luna's story as the spark. None of it would have happened without you, Emily." She turned to me, her gaze steady. "If you hadn't stopped that day, hadn't trusted her." I shook my head, picturing Luna's desperate tug on my sleeve, those amber eyes begging me to follow. "She trusted me first," I said. "I just listened." Rachel smiled, a quiet agreement passing between us. "That's what we're teaching here," she said. "Those connections, they're real, even when we can't explain them. Luna proved it when she found you." Shadows stretched across the grass as the afternoon faded, and Luna sprawled out beside Bailey, her head resting near his paws. I watched them, my heart full. This wasn't just a rescue tale anymore. It was a bridge, a new way of seeing the wild through a pup who defied everything to save her human. Months later, the grand opening of the California Nature Bridge Center buzzed with life, the air crisp with winter's bite. I stood before Luna's sprawling habitat, my breath fogging in front of me, the chatter of families filling the space. Bailey pressed his nose to the glass barrier, his tail wagging like a metronome as Luna loped over, her movements fluid and sure. She'd grown so much in 6 months, her fur thicker, her legs longer, but those amber eyes still held that same piercing light from that scorching July day. Rachel's voice cut through the crowd, strong and clear over the speakers, a far cry from the weak whispers I'd heard in the ravine. Luna's story reminds us that the bond between humans and wildlife isn't just about saving them, it's about connection, she said, gesturing toward the habitat. Kids pressed against the railing, phones snapping photos, while parents pointed out Luna's markings, gray streaks on her flanks, the white patch on her chest. She wasn't just a wolf anymore, she was a symbol, a spark. The habitat itself was a marvel, rock formations jutting from the earth, a stream gurgling through the center, dense bushes mimicking her native Sierra foothills. Donations had poured in after her story broke, turning Rachel's dream into this living, breathing place. Educational stations dotted the edges, touchscreens with wolf facts, maps of Luna's journey, videos of her rescue. I watched a little girl trace the route from Highway 99 to Evergreen Forest, her eyes wide with wonder. Bailey whined softly, his gaze fixed on Luna as she paced the glass. Their friendship had grown through our visits during Rachel's recovery, quiet moments of play that felt like a secret between them. Now, Luna tilted her head, studying him with that familiar curiosity. "Look," a boy shouted, his voice piercing the hum of the crowd. Luna nosed a bright blue ball through a gap in her enclosure, rolling it toward Bailey. The onlookers gasped, a ripple of awe spreading through them, and I blinked back tears. Bailey's tail thumped, his ears perked as he pawed the ball back. It wasn't just a game, it was memory, intention. Luna remembered us, wanted us close. My throat tightened, the weight of that hitting me hard. Rachel appeared beside me, her limp barely there now, her coat zipped against the chill. "She does that every time she sees Bailey," she said, her voice low and warm. "Their bond, it's rewriting what we know about wolves. Cognition, social ties, all of it." The center wasn't just a facility, it was a shift. Kids learned hope here, not fear, their laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves. Researchers scribbled notes, cameras clicked, and Luna moved through it all, her presence a quiet challenge to old ideas. I remembered that moment on the highway, choosing to follow her into the unknown, trusting a wolf pup's desperate plea. It had led us here, to this, a place where barriers dissolved, where understanding bloomed. The sun sank lower, casting long shadows through the habitat's trees, and Luna climbed a rocky perch, her silhouette sharp against the fading light. She glanced our way one last time, those eyes catching mine. Bailey settled at my feet, content with their brief exchange. Around us, families shared her story, pointing to displays that mapped her trek. 5 miles of wilderness, a beacon on her leg, a life saved. Gratitude washed over me, steady and warm. This wasn't an end. It was a beginning, a movement sparked by a tiny wolf who'd changed everything. Thank you for watching. If you like the story, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.